The 11SIX24 power line is one of the most anticipated launches for a mid-sized company that I can remember. This company came onto the scene last year for their affordable, high-quality paddles, and they really took the paddle market by storm. They garnered high praise from other reviewers, the brand is strong, and I know a lot of people are eager to get their hands on this new line. But before we jump into the specs and my thoughts, these videos do take a good amount of time and effort, and if you could hit that subscribe button, it would mean a lot and greatly benefit the growth of my channel. Also, no disclaimer for this video, as I was not sent these paddles by 11SIX24, and I have just been playtesting these since the launch. With that out of the way, let's jump into some specs. The power line from 11SIX24 comes in three shapes: the Huarache X, which is their elongated, the Vapor, which is their hybrid, and the newly renamed Pegasus, formerly Monarch, which is their wide body. As I mentioned, I did not get sent these paddles or get these paddles early, so actually I have just been borrowing the Vapor and the Huarache X from a friend. All these paddles come in at 16 millimeters. The surface is made up of a CFC construction, meaning carbon fiber, fiberglass, carbon fiber. These paddles are of Gen 3 construction with a floating core utilizing closed cell foam around the perimeter, which is more durable. The handle length on the Huarache is 6 inches, the Vapor is 5.75, and the Pegasus comes in at 5.5 inches. I only got these numbers for the two paddles I played with, so the Vapor swing weight came in at 115 with a twist weight of 7, and the Huarache X came in with a swing weight of 118 and a twist weight of 6.5. These paddles have a 6-month warranty, and lastly, the price of these paddles is $169.99, but with my code JJPB, that price does come down to $159.99. I am a bit torn on how I feel about these paddles. I playtested these for about 30 games over the past week, and I can't quite seem to nail down why I personally can't rein this paddle in. When I first picked it up, I was in love with the sound, the hard hits, and overall feel. But once I got into some higher level games, I just never felt comfortable with this paddle. The Huarache X provides solid power that is not hard to generate. The sweet spot is well above average and has good feedback. I personally found the pop on these paddles to be quite prevalent. My drives with these paddles felt amazing, and when I needed to put the ball away or hit a backhand flick, I was always able to do so with success. Another huge positive for these paddles is the shapes. 3 great options for almost any player, and the Huarache with a 6-inch handle really allows for great reach and shot versatility. My topspin serves felt great, and I seemed to have an edge over my opponents who struggled in their returns, setting me up with much easier thirds. The one area I did find myself very frustrated in was with my slice serve. I just was never able to feel confident to keep the ball in the court when actually playing a game. My co-host Graham of my podcast played with me for a few days after my playtesting started using the power line, and he noted I looked very timid on a lot of my shots, more specifically on my drops. This fell right in line with how I was feeling. When it came to the soft game, I was able to finally adjust, and my dinks started to feel really good. With that extra reach with the 6-inch handle of the Huarache X, I really felt confident in my angles and my shot selection, specifically off the bounce. However, when it came to taking balls out of the air at the kitchen, I just didn't love the consistency. It just felt like the ball didn't stay on the face very long and was constantly jumping off and up. I even asked a couple 4-5+ players to give me their impressions, and they seemed to struggle with the same few select shots that were giving me issue. They did say they enjoyed playing with the paddle, but it just didn't wow them, which fell in line to kind of how I was feeling. And very similar to how I felt in my drops, I just did not feel as precise and continued to have difficulties when taking those dinks out of the air at the kitchen line. As I mentioned before, this paddle has me very conflicted. The spin I could generate was very solid, and I really liked how I could move the ball with this paddle. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't get comfortable with it. I think this paddle is going to be for a lot of people. The power line coming in at a price of $160 after code should be very appealing to those seeking power. And if I had to summarize it, I would say these paddles to me are 80% as good as Yola 3S or the Paddletech Bantam TKOCs, both of which seem to be the standard for power paddles over the last year. I personally would still choose the Paddletech and the Yolas over this power series, and it's simply because they have slightly more performance for me and my touch is just better with those paddles. And again, this is just my perspective for my play style. And I think I am just not a huge fan of the fiberglass layer in these paddles, meaning these paddles may just not be for me, and that's okay. That does not mean you may not fall in love with these paddles. If you are a banger style player or someone coming from a broken Mod TA15, then I think this will be a very good fit for you, with more controllable power, better durability, and at a much cheaper price point. I honestly just think these paddles fall in a weird in-between for me, where they are just not as powerful as a Yola 3S, where I just have to put my paddle down to block and reset the ball, and not as soft as some other power paddles where I felt confident using larger strokes to reset and dink the ball more easily. Obviously, price point is a major selling point for this paddle, and I do not want you to think that you need to spend over $250 to find a perfect high-end performing paddle. For a very large majority, these paddles are plenty good, and if you want power with a good sweet spot at an amazing price, then this is probably the paddle for you. But if you're expecting some game-changing performance, I don't think these paddles have that. Those are my thoughts on the power line from 11SIX24. I know I seem to be in the minority for my taste on this paddle, so I honestly would love to hear any feedback you may have with your experience using these paddles down in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.